He was a police officer for over 3 decades and most recently served as the police chief of Minneapolis before retiring in 2022. Medaria Arradondo. Sir, Chief, how are you? Great to see you. I've seen you a lot on TV because, of course, you were out there in 2020 when you were head of the Minneapolis Police Department, and we saw you. I thought you handled yourself and the whole situation as well as could be handled.
Thank you.
So, obviously, you're a great person to talk to today because we, at the same time, of course, want to condemn what happened in Memphis full-forcedly. But also, you know, I want to understand. First of all, in the tribal way we live in America now, I got to think being a black cop is about as hard a job as it gets. Because we are tribal.
Yeah, Bill, the journey of black cops in this country, oftentimes having to serve in some of the most challenged neighborhoods and sections of the community, and then, of course, still facing a lot of the same institutional challenges within the organizations and with the tribalism that you had just mentioned. It becomes difficult, and that's why the situation in Memphis is so. And first off, I just have to, thoughts and condolences to the Nichols family who just buried their son this week. And I've heard the conversation about race, and particularly those being 5 black officers. And I think what is most shameful and despicable, besides what Mr. Nichols suffered and what his family is going through, is that the black elders and the black civil rights icons and all of those people that fought so hard so that, even for myself, that we could be in the positions that we are in today. And so that really, it's just terrible on so many fronts. But yeah, there's these challenges, and as you've mentioned, America has changed so much.
And I would imagine challenges even within your own community, because I'm sure there's some black folks who don't think it's kind of being a traitor.
Yes.
Right?
Absolutely.
And so you're having to face that and do your job.
Yeah. And at the same time, a couple of years ago, when the abolish and defund movement was really taking on a lot of rhetoric, it was those same communities, those black communities, that needed that police protection even more. And so they were torn in the divisions. And so it's been very challenging over the last couple of years.
It strikes me that race trumps almost everything in America. You know? I mean, if it's a man-woman situation, usually people will side racially.
Yeah.
Except for cops. It seems like that's the one thing. When you're a black cop, it's this. I'm just going by this and other situations, but obviously there's something about being blue. I guess because it's your life on the line.
Yeah. Well, it also, I think, it attaches a history to it. These policing departments and institutions have been around in most parts of the country for almost 200 years. When they were created, someone like myself was never envisioned in being a part of that. And so along the way with all those challenges, along with some of the hurt that many in the black community had suffered at the hands of police departments, now when they see someone who is black, who is serving, some of that history and some of that generational trauma continues with it. And so it does make it.
Yeah, I mean, when people say, well, first of all, it's an interesting way to run an experiment. We took whiteness out of the equation completely on the surface because all the cops were black, police chief, the majority of the force is black.
Yes.
Okay, but that doesn't mean whiteness is really out of the equation completely because, as you say, history matters.
Absolutely.
So it's a little counterintuitive. That doesn't mean it's not true. That even black cops can be racist to black people.
Absolutely.
And that you would say that is
absolutely. Van Jones, who I have a lot of respect for, he spoke on it probably much more better than I could. But what I will say is, absolutely, can black people be racist? Absolutely. But I will also just say this here: what those 5 former officers did to Mr. Nichols, as Chief Davis of the Memphis Police Department said, it was inhumane. And I don't believe that you can truly love yourself if you are willing to subject a defenseless person to that type of brutality.
Okay.
Mr. Nichols did.
So Good. Well, let's get into that. Yeah. When you see these beatings, and we've seen it, Rodney King, I think it was the first time we saw it, because before that there wasn't video like that.
True.
So obviously it went on even worse before. But when you first saw that, and this is very reminiscent, we've seen many instances, including some white people, who had the shit beat out of them, where there's 4 or 5 or 6 guys, and it's extremely frightening because there is a mob mentality going on there. It's very Lord of the Flies. There's something atavistic about that is scary, especially when it's law enforcement people doing that. So help me understand, if you can, why that happens? Is it because they're just on such a hair trigger, because what they see all day, every day? Is it an accumulation? That rage inside of them, where is it coming from, and how can we channel it differently?
Yeah, so that's a great question, Bill. And so I think 2 things we have to focus on. Historically in policing, which is a paramilitary model, they take into account groupthink, teamwork, and team membership, and that gets transferred into the academy. But what we are not doing a good enough job, and we certainly one aspect of the Memphis situation is when camaraderie suffocates character, we need to start telling folks that their individual character means everything, and if they see these acts, they have to speak up and intervene them. So that's very important.
It's a tough sell in the police department, isn't it?
It is.
In any military police.
True, it is, but it's what's going to matter.
Right.
As fast as technology, we can get all the tools and the excellent training in the world, but police departments move at the speed of trust. If that is not there, this all ends. And so we have to really focus on that. But I will also say, which we saw in Memphis, and I really want to give credit to Chief Davis, Mayor Strickland, we saw even Governor Lee there, they moved very swiftly to condemn and to call out what it was. We haven't seen that in practice often. And so I think that is going to be a shift that we see in terms of holding folks accountable. But before our communities call out bad police misconduct, we within the organizations have to do that first.
Yeah.